I have audio. If I slow. Take that into account.
30 seconds. Also on Zoom, so that's why we're behind. Otherwise, we could start whenever. Thanks, everyone.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for unveiling 2023-24 Chesapeake Bay Watershed Park highlights. Side. My name is Andrew Dema, Executive Director of the Irrigation Commission. Honored to be here this morning. You may have noticed that we are not back in Maryland, nor along the Chesapeake Bay. But as the name of the report card suggests, the entire Bay watershed is accessed. So BC is a proud partnership with New York State, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, State of Maryland, and it's been our privilege to explore the system for 40 years as they strive to meet the objective. We're excited about the progress that's been made. Today we've assembled a few members of the state partnership and in the event of center present to. Please note this event will be followed immediately. Second event featuring Bureau tests. They will offer additional remarks on restoration efforts, and you will all get to join us at the place in balcony. But first things first, let's get this session underway. Excuse me. This morning, moderator, you want to speak. Please welcome Andrew Transport.
Thank you, Andrew, very much. And thanks, the SRBC for hosting us on the beautiful day. That's hopefully not going to get too warm. I'm Fernando Miralles Willem, and I appreciate the way you pronounced it. This is very, very good. I'm president, newly minted president of University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science. I'm since second week on the job, or maybe week after this last week was a little bit short. We're excited. Here, I'm so excited about the release of the report card, and in earlier conversation we're having this morning, I was telling people that we're looking at this community here today. It was looked at the Chesapeake Bay as we're looking at it from the inside. We live here. This is what we do. I've had the privilege of working in other places in the world, country, and when you say you're from Maryland, people say, "Oh, Chesapeake Bay." It is very important to understand that other people are looking at us at what we're doing. We're close to know we're doing something really important, really exciting. I think the report card is an effort. First of all, it's an effort that it takes. I was going to say it takes a village, but it actually takes a watershed to understand and takes a big community, NGO, private sector, to understand that everything we do as a society, as humans, happens in
recording in progress.
So it's very exciting that we're releasing this report card today, and hear a whole host of speakers today. Really have a exciting agenda for you today. I was told by my staff that I have to stay a little bit on the seat. University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science is one of 12 institutions in the university system. We are a graduate level university that focuses exclusively on the environment, and it's only at a graduate level. And we're really excited because officially in a few weeks we'll be starting a celebration of a 100th year of OCES, our centenary. It all started back in 1925. What's known today is the Chesapeake Biological Laboratory in Solomons. But we are a premier institution dedicated to environmental issues. And what place better to do this than around Chesapeake Bay? Wonderful to be with you, all with you here today. We have a full program, so I'll stop there and let me introduce US EPA Administrator Adam Ortiz. Before coming to EPA, Adam was director of the Montgomery County, Maryland Department of Environmental Protection, where he launched programs boosting recycling, curbside compost collection, building energy efficiency standards, and ecological hardening to watershed restoration projects with a focus on equity. So thank you all for being here, and Administrator Ortiz.
Thank you. Good morning, and thank you, Drew, SRPC, for hosting us, and good to see so many friends and allies in the room today. I also want to acknowledge, there's too many secretaries to acknowledge here, so I'm not going to do that, but I do want to recognize Patrick McDonald, who I saw walked in, who I worked with very closely when I first came into this job in 2021. And I said to him in our first call that Pennsylvania is going to be our focus in EPA, restore the partnership that we have and get it moving again. For many years, the state's been very fragmented. There were lawsuits, and environmental organizations were unhappy at the rate of progress, but in recent years, all of that has changed. For the first time in a long time, the states are working closely together in partnership. For the first time in a long time in the Biden administration, we are stepping up with investments, technical assistance, as well as enforcement to make sure that restoration gets moving again. We are breaking down the artificial divides that have hampered restoration, including reaching out to the Farm Bureau, the agriculture community. And I see another ally here in Mid-Atlantic was with the very first in-person meeting. As I said, we have to come together, we have to focus. And the response that I got from them was, we agree 100%. We've had so many successes since then. And the proof is in the pudding. You know, we have to be engaged, we have to reach out across divides and bring people together. And that can be state divides, that can be industry divides, that can be public sector and private sector, and we have to come together. We have to align our efforts, and that means working across the aisle. And it's not insignificant that in Pennsylvania, the ACAP funding and the establishment of that program was led in a bipartisan manner from Senator Scott Martin and Gene Yaw and other leaders, Democratic leaders as well. That is not, that's a big thing. And a lot of this programs have been carried out by the rank and file here in the Commonwealth. Jill Whitcomb has been a tremendous partner. Doug, I mentioned, Jeff Shirley have been carrying out all of this work with tremendous vigor. And it's not, none of this happens by accident. So the grade that we received today, that our work is receiving today, is the greatest and the highest grade in 2 decades. That doesn't happen by accident. As the president says, everybody has a role. And the partnership here is unique because it's everybody working together. You know, the environment is a very complicated thing. We need science, and science is our North Star. We need resources, we need government at all levels, local level. We need industry, we need producers, we need everybody working together. For the first time in a long, long time, we are working together. And before I pass the mic, I also want to say how significant this report card is, because in the environmental world, we get a lot of report cards from all sorts of organizations. Some of them are in this room. But this report card is issued by professors, and so it's especially legitimate. But with that, the Environmental Protection Agency is honored to be on Team Environment, Team Chesapeake with all of you. I'm so excited to move forward in the Watershed.
Thank you very much, Administrator Ortiz, for doing the questions part like that shout out. It's now my pleasure to introduce the Pennsylvania Secretary of Agriculture, Russ Rennie.
Thank you, and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Pennsylvania. Always good to have you here. I haven't spoken of the partnership, and I could go in that direction. I just want to say at the outset. I mean, the world has changed in terms of relationships between the states, the secretaries, the governors, the administration, the treasuries, and that was no accident. That was intentional. Right? And we stand here today with a progress report that speaks to that commitment. Many people can see the long view. What we're doing in environmental stewardship, certainly more quality, specifically to the bay. I like to say, my background is in education, so when you get a report card, there are clearly grades, right? But I've learned over time that you want to pay attention to the comment section, right? You think about your kids and how are they doing? You see comments like comes to class every day, ready, has a positive attitude to self, consistently improve, and has shown remarkable growth in confidence this year. So in keeping with the report card format, here are my comments. Under the section of high motivation, today we celebrate the progress we have made on the two co-equal goals for the Chesapeake Bay. One, of course, is clean water. The other is viable farms. Cannot get Pennsylvania the first without the second. We've proven that over time, and this report is a testament to. Under the category of showing improvement, we are seeing the results of Pennsylvania's progress and effective investments. Investments in public, private, nonprofit partners is an investment in workforce. Investing in local water quality is investing in our farms and our communities. Investing in the stream and ecological health leads to vibrant and resilient regions where every community matters. We've made progress. You can see it on the farms, the lands, and Pennsylvania. You can see it in the data and the water quality itself. You can see it on the projects of implementation across Pennsylvania. Since our phase 3 in 2019, the agricultural sector has demonstrated more than 5 times the progress towards nitrogen reduction, and almost 2.5 times the amount of progress in phosphate reductions in the previous 10-year period. Under the category of shows respect to others, this is a moment to say thank you. It's really important to say thank you to DEP as a partner, lead partner here at the state. Say thank you to Secretary Jill and many others who have been strong in their commitment. They've been clear in their expectations to us, but they've been kind and humble with the way they post this work under extraordinary pressures. So thank you for that. But it's also a moment to say thank you to our local governments. I'm sure the Secretary will know that this has been led by our local governments. At the end of the day, the partnerships in this state that we have as a local government state with 2,300 plus local governments, that is a critical part of our Constitution. The work that they have done, but it's been backed up by Penn State University, our State Conservation Commission, our conservation districts. Under the category of confidence, through the investments of the USDA partnership with Secretary Bill Sack, Biden administration, what they have done with NRCS, the EQIP funds, the backup with the EPA and support that we've had. As Adam noted, the ACAP funds have been transformative in Pennsylvania, touched the lives of hundreds of farms and farm families across Pennsylvania. Jointly, in bipartisan way, funded and supported tremendous progress. But today is also a call to action for all of us, local, state, federal level. We have to continue to advocate. Water needs our voice. The land needs our voice. How we present that, manage that, and steward that is critical to Pennsylvania's future. We'll hear from the governor in a few minutes. I want to recognize this leadership of Pennsylvania. Been with him on farms and dairy and hemp and Dickinson school, student farm. And every time I'm struck by his awareness of the connectedness between what we've done in our past, but also how critical agriculture. He looks full. And I appreciate what he has done and the goals that he supports for both agriculture and the environment. Under the category and final of reflection section, right? We get a chance. This is where I would put as a positive attitude to self. Right? Positive. So this is a journey of time. The attitude is important. Recognize that agriculture's pressure. We get it, but we're also getting it done. The report sort of speaks to that and confirms that. This is the story of partnerships. It's a story about the farmer and how critical they are to Pennsylvania's success. I want to thank the farm community in Pennsylvania and this region. What they do every day, allow us to sit here in the comfort of this time, well-fed and well-nourished, positive outlook for the future, but also the trust of the things we need deeply care of the environment, food system, food security. They make that possible. So, on behalf of Governor and Department of Agriculture, everyone, part of this journey, thank you. Very grateful. Work is done. Great that you receive comments. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Secretary Reddy, for those encouraging words. One comment that we were talking earlier, he told me that he had been in and out of academia, and he actually wasn't secretary first, right? And then you went back and became the dean of agriculture, and then now he, I guess the government pulled him, in again. But I think it's fantastic that you got to share your knowledge and your experience with food. That's a way to leave a very strong legacy in the district. Sticking with the agriculture theme, it's now my pleasure to introduce Secretary Kevin Addicks, who's leader of the Maryland Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome. Secretary Redding said it. This report card, while it is a report card, it is a notice that we have been in partnership. It is an acknowledgement that we are doing the work. It is also an acknowledgement that, as was stated, cannot have a food system without clean water. But we also cannot have our community without a food system. And so when you think about all of the pressures that an industry like agriculture comes under, development being one, in Maryland, the needs for clean energy and the pressures to put solar on farms. But when you look at those incredible pressures, and then you think about our need to feed people, and not only to feed people, but feed with clean, fresh, local food that's not being transported across the country or across the world. We're finding a balance. We're finding a balance as to how we're going to grow this food and how we're going to do it in an environmentally responsible way so that we can look out into our watershed and have access to our water, drink that water and swim in that water and enjoy the environment while still being able to enjoy local food. When you look at what this report card is showing, and also what we learned from the Bay Program Caesar report, we've been given the go-ahead to try new things. We've been given, again, the acknowledgement that what we have been doing is working, but there is a lot of work to do. So go figure it out. And with the great minds at UMCES and our land-grant universities and all the researchers out there, and let's not underestimate industry and partnerships in the industry. They're looking at ways to improve and make more efficient our processes so that we can do it greener and cleaner. Our goal clearly is to maintain agriculture as what it is in Maryland and also in Pennsylvania, the #1 commercial industry. We need to do that because we need to be growing food. But we have to do it with a new array of tools, innovations, so that we can do it, as I said, cleaner and greener. Our strategies will bring us to a holistic approach to watershed restoration and conservation. And we have no choice but to address these challenges of a growing population, the development pressures, and that need for clean, local, healthy food. So again, thank you for the incredible partnerships, not only within our state agencies, but across state lines. The work that's being done in Pennsylvania is incredible. The work being done in Virginia, up through New York, West Virginia, it all comes together to get us to where we are, which is a better grade than before. And improvement is the way to go. Thank you for the partnerships.
Highlighting the role of your agricultural industry, back my hat, this professor back, I tell students in my class, the way that humans modify most the environment. You think that's building our city, is empowering, it's growing our food. Around the world is the dominant force. And so thanks for highlighting, the importance of agriculture for land, for water, and its agriculture has that dominant as being a force in modifying our environment. Agriculture is the solution to solving the problem. So it's really important that we work together, and I really want to commend Secretary Addix for his experience, for his comments, and for what he brings into this community of the Chesapeake Bay. So thank you very much. So now we go back to Pennsylvania, Acting Secretary Jessica Shirley arrived to her role of Acting Secretary with extensive experience within the agency. Most recently, she served as the Executive Deputy Secretary overseeing our programs. So Secretary Shirley, welcome.
Good morning. It's a good day to be here, even though I have to go after Secretary Russell Running. Anybody who ever wants to go after him, like, you might as well just wrap it up. But we've already said a lot of thank yous, but I just want to stand here and personally acknowledge Bureau Director Jill Whitcomb, who is for the Chesapeake Bay in Pennsylvania. So I look around, I see a lot of faces, and I was thinking back to, I think it was 2016 or 2017, that time frame. But we've done a lot of talking about partnerships, but here in Pennsylvania, if you guys remember, Secretary Redding, Secretary Dunn, we had a huge meeting, like 100 people at some hotel in Camp Hill. We rented the biggest ballroom that they had. I see Pat nodding, former Secretary McDonald nodding. We had easels, you could write ideas down. We invited everybody that we thought could potentially be a stakeholder and could potentially have a stake in the Bay. And we said, what are your ideas? What can we do? And that was really the foundation of our plan. That's how we really got started at addressing this. And it was creating a really big table, even though we didn't have a table, we had a ballroom, we had a stage, but it was getting all of those people and all those perspectives around the table. And quite honestly, that's why we're here today. Because government works best when it works together. The other Pennsylvania secretaries and I, Doug Wolfgang and Jill, and other folks from DCNR, we meet about our Chesapeake Bay obligations several times a year. We get together and we talk about the progress that we're making. We talk about where we are, and we talk about how we can work together. So it truly is a partnership, because we didn't actually start getting stuff done in Pennsylvania until we created that large table. So now I'll actually get to my remarks. So we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for our partnerships with the General Assembly as well. They're pretty busy downtown working on a budget. But I have to acknowledge that we've had some really great partnerships. I see Morel and Nick in the back. Our partnerships that we have with our legislature has been incredibly invaluable. We've also strengthened our partnerships with USDA and EPA, which has been a huge help to meeting our obligations. And Secretary Redding mentioned it, but we forged new partnerships with local government. And that's really been the key here in Pennsylvania, is we do have a different kind of system. We have a Commonwealth system that's made up of local governments. What does that mean for the people of Pennsylvania is, and this goes to Secretary of Fun Dunn over here. It means Pennsylvania has cleaner water for boating and kayaking, for outdoor recreation, for better fish habitat, and for safer drinking water. We have invested in a strategy that works here in Pennsylvania. We call it the Rapid Stream Delisting Strategy, to focus on restoration projects in agriculturally impaired watersheds. And as of the end of 2023, we have 229 high priority projects fully funded and are either complete, underway, or moving forward in 2024. Thanks to these efforts, more than 100 miles of streams have been restored to water quality standards in Pennsylvania's portion of the Chesapeake Bay watershed in the last 4 years. And the agricultural partnerships that Secretary Redding talked about, the investments into strategic planning that the Department of Environmental Protection has made, and the tremendous work that the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources has done to improve the riparian buffer habitat, is all paying off. Together, we will keep this momentum going, and we will restore more local streams in Pennsylvania and protect more watersheds and get stuff done. Pennsylvania is making strategic investments that are paying off. We are investing in building public, private, and nonprofit partnerships. We are investing in our communities to bring more people into the effort to improve our streams and waters. We keep building our table bigger. And we are investing in stream and ecological health and restoring watersheds here in Pennsylvania. So I'll give you a few numbers. Since 2022, so it's only 2022, Pennsylvania has reduced an estimated 3.62 million pounds of nitrogen, reduced 80,000 pounds of phosphorus, and reduced 102 million pounds of sediment. In total, across all sectors, Pennsylvania reported more than 14,500 best management practices to EPA's Chesapeake Bay model, which is the highest number since the 2009 baseline was established. These are not small numbers. There's significant work that is going into this. And we are today seeing the returns on 10 years worth of investments in the report card. So just imagine what we're going to see 10 years from now with the investments that we're continuing to make today. So this is just another example of how Pennsylvania gets stuff done.
Wonderful, wonderful, Secretary Shirley. Thanks for highlighting, the role the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection has taken in partnering with other governmental agencies in Pennsylvania, also across the watershed, and how that's important. And without spoiling the release and unveiling of the report card, Secretary Shirley did let out that one of the highest scores has to do with reducing nutrient loads and protecting carrying areas of the watershed. And that's in large measure when the efforts are being done. Pennsylvania, so it's wonderful. Thanks very much. And now let me introduce. We're going back to crisscrossing state lines. Introducing Secretary Josh Herzog of Maryland, the Department of Natural Resources. Welcome.
Morning, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here with all of you. We've spent a lot of time on calls, in-person meetings, and I know how all of our team members have worked on this, so it's really a pleasure to be here. I want to thank UMCS to start, an incredible partner for the Bay Partnership, an incredible partner for us in Maryland. One of the first actions our governor took, Governor Moore, when he took office, was to create the Watershed Council, which is for us to build a stronger partnership within Maryland. And UMCS is actually a member of that Watershed Council. Really appreciate the expertise they bring. And one of the things they do really well is they put out reports and they assess. And that's fantastic, especially when it shows assessments of success. And I think it's great to be here today to really celebrate that. And I think also really point to how we got here, but some of the challenges maybe we didn't expect, right? When we were thinking about bay restoration originally, we didn't think about climate change. We didn't think about warming temperatures. All of that makes it much more difficult to be successful. And we have seen progress even against different headwinds than we expected. We appreciate the alignment of the latest scientific recommendations of the Bay Program partners. It really allows us to put that continued focus, not only on water quality, but the pieces of the partnership that also make this watershed an incredible place to live, to work, to recreate. Clean water, trout to fish for, incredible places to hike and mountain bike. All of that really comes together to make this a phenomenal place to be. The other thing about report cards is it gives us the time to take stock. So I'd like to take a little stock right now. There are a couple things that we're seeing that are frankly things that were unfathomable 20, 30, 40 years. People are going to swim in the Baltimore Harbor. People are swimming in the Anacostia. This is exceptional, right? We are seeing the incredible work of the Maryland Department of Environment and the wastewater treatment work to really ensure that our urban centers have cleaner water. You know, seeing what DC has done. And really, that brings us back to the partnership. Our ability to work together well and learn from each other is how we're going to be more successful, is how we're going to build on this success. We're planting millions of trees across the watershed here in Pennsylvania, in Maryland, in Virginia, in Delaware. And they're going into urban communities that need relief from the heat. They're going into agricultural areas where we need more forested buffers. It's being done through partnerships with our nonprofit communities, with our agricultural community, I mean, up and down the list. And I just want to say it's a true pleasure to be here with our partners in Pennsylvania today. The progress you all have made, I think what we see the work in the stream delisting is directly, we're taking those lessons and we're building that into our whole Watershed Act approach, which we're very excited about. It's about orienting around science, around watersheds, not necessarily just political geography. So shout out to UMCs for really focusing in on the watersheds, right? Our water does not know political boundaries, so we need to be able to work effectively across them. I could stand here today. One of the great things I've had the opportunity to do over the past year is travel to all the states and learn about the work. My colleagues and I have been, we're all around the watershed. Actually, Pennsylvania was our first stop. I could stand here and tell you all about great work in all of these states. And most of that great work is rooted in partnership. And I think one of the strongest is here between Maryland, Pennsylvania, and New York. And that is actually based out of the SRPC, so very appropriate, but it's the Conowingo Watershed Implementation Program and partnership. And what we're seeing there is just a stronger implementation, better outcomes, and much greater coordination. I think we are thrilled to see that. We've made real progress, but we have room to improve. The report card shows that. But I know that by working together and providing tangible benefits to citizens all across the watershed in each one of our localities, it's going to allow us to build on that momentum and really realize the promise of the shared goal that we have. So excited to be here today, really excited to keep up the work. Thank you.
Thank you very much. As everybody first, one of the things that I wanted to mention also is, we had mentioned earlier, transition between government and academia. Secretary Curtis has been in NGOs and government, right? So you see the importance of having individuals that are able to work across these boundaries that are just artificial. We're all, wanting to have a better bay, and I think individuals with this experience really leverage and make the whole effort, a lot better. So again, let's continue with our speakers, and it's my pleasure to introduce Secretary Serena McElwain. Before leading the Department of Environment starting in 2023, she was Undersecretary of California's Environmental Protection Agency, and also served the federal government as a senior executive secretary of branch agency. So again, that wealth of experience, particularly outside the Bay, that's important to highlight. So welcome, Secretary.
Good to see everyone. Here today, US EPA, Pennsylvania. My Maryland colleagues, you've heard enough from us in Maryland. So I won't keep you too long. We are deep and strong in here today, so really appreciate being here. So, I know we've heard a lot about the grade and what it means. Comments. By the way, the comments online, but she's not working up to her potential. That's okay. We are now. And to my potential, expecting that. But anyway, when you think about the grades that we're getting here and that we got today, that we're going to get review bill, when you think about it, in college and in high school too, sometimes we work as teams, right, to get a grade. And I used to always get mad at that too. On my own. Because some of these team players are really working as a team, so it's dragging down the whole grade. But what I learned after looking at the reports, and I continue to look at the report, it's showing that we are actually working together, and that's why our grade is high. Because all of us are so committed, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and other states, we are committed. And that's why we have the higher grade that we have today than we did last year when we had the same conference. So I'm really happy that we're moving forward, we're working together, and doing great things. I'll leave you with 3 points. For us in Maryland, we're looking at improving based on 3 things, 3 R's. It's easy to remember. 1, we're starting to re-engage the communities, particularly more, because we've been engaging with them, but re-engaging more, particularly those communities that have been left behind. So we're doing a lot more talking and communications and forums and things like that, so that we can take all areas into consideration as we look at improving. We're also rethinking how we do things. We're rethinking the strategies that worked and the ones that didn't. And we're trying to make sure that we're not just continuing every year and every month doing the same thing that we did last year. That's how we don't move up in grades. We have to start doing things different, and not differently. That leads me to the last part, which is we are starting to reinvigorate how we do things as well. We're looking at innovations and more partnerships. In particular, the partnership that we have in Pennsylvania, Susquehanna River Basin Commission, particularly, but the relationship also that we have in Pennsylvania as we're working together with. And so that just shows how we're starting to be in the space of being big. So I'll leave you with that. I hope next year, wherever we are, whichever state, and here to say, we did it, we got a name. That's right. Thank you.
So now we'll go officially for the unveiling of a report card, and if we had a lot of music this week. It's my welcome to introduce my colleague and friend, Dr. Phil Denison, who's UMC's Vice President for Science Applications, and just until last week, he served painfully, as he tells me, the role of interim president of UMC, so interesting. And Bill's experience in this is really remarkable. He's been a leader in producing environmental assessments of this type for over 2 decades. And I remember I was telling you, people outside of Bay nationally look at the Chesapeake Bay as an example. The other thing they come up with, say you're from Maryland, oh, I said, so welcome.
Thanks very much for it. So, great to be here. It's a great venue. I'd like to introduce Secretary of Fun. I didn't know that term. It's actually Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, Cindy Adams Duff. So Cindy, please.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. It's a great day. I know, those of us Pennsylvania so enthused to have you up here. We're celebrating the work in Pennsylvania and also the point. We'll drive and we'll ballet and all that. Thank you. I know I speak for the whole cabinet of Governor Josh Shapiro. You're supportive of the Chesapeake Bay effort because it's good for Pennsylvania. It's good for our mighty Susquehanna out right outside this beautiful Susquehanna that marches way right up to the water. Many streams and waterways that feed into them. 1.7 million acres of that waterway in Pennsylvania is forested by Commonwealth owned properties under the management of DCNR. We're the largest landowner in the Bay Watershed, and a lot of that's clear and cool on this hot day because of trees and shading. Thanks to Jessica Shirley for recognizing the buffer work that's been done. I'm very proud of our staff and partners for the on the ground, backbreaking, nitty-gritty work of planting trees on streams. 7,700 acres over the past couple of years, and 1.5 million trees in the ground. And if you've been part of a buffer planting effort, you know what that really means. It sounds fun, looks good in the end, it's hard work. And this is due to this partnership that both Jessica Shirley and Russell Redding alluded to. Partnerships with nonprofit partners like Alliance for Chesapeake Bay, Western Pennsylvania Conservancy, Chesapeake Bay Foundation, and numerous other county partners that were pulled together in that big room that Senator Shirley mentioned. Everyone had ideas, but then bought into the solution. I know Governor Shapiro's, when he sees it's a C, he'll be happy when he learns what it used to be, but he's gonna want the A. And for many reasons, in Pennsylvania, we're very proud of the communities we have, but we know they need more shading. We're putting $9 million on the ground in the communities with the under shade trees, and it's critically important in heat conditions like today. We're working to create access for people. We have a goal, as I stated in the UMSTAGE report, of citizens having a 10-minute walk through a park, a pool space, a green space. 64% of Pennsylvanians right now have a 10-minute walk. So we have a long way to go, but 64% is not too bad. Again, we lots to be said about this partnership. I won't delay with that, but the difference in the Biden administration, Adam Ortiz early engagement with the secretaries, Josh Kurtz upon becoming DNR secretary was in Pennsylvania within weeks, along with Susquehanna. Was up to meet with the other secretaries in the Racial Parks and State Office building within months of heading the Pennsylvania Principal Staff Committee, Chesapeake Bay effort. So these partnerships are not to be taken lightly. They do matter. They do make a difference, and we are certainly there to share. So thank you for that.
So this is really a momentous location for us. We started out 17 years ago reporting on the health of Chesapeake Bay. We stuck to the bay, which is water quality and biodiversity. And then in January 2020, we came to this room and started our journey to increase our focus to the entire water. We had sticky notes up on the windows. In the evening we go over to the farm show and have fried Oreos and cookies and milkshakes. And then we started this effort to expand into the watershed and realizing if you get into the watershed, that's where the people. So you'll see as we unveil these report cards, it's not just about the water and the biota, it's about us as community. So there are some people in the audience I want to point out. There are two Pennsylvania residents in the audience who I work with on a regular basis in Maryland. One is Vice Chancellor Michelle Masucci, Vice Chancellor of the University System of Maryland for Research and Economic Development. Michelle lives in Philadelphia. She was at Temple University for a long time, and now the great supporter of UMSTAGE and helping the system. Fernando is not only the president of UMSTAGE, he's also the Vice Chancellor for Sustainability. So we're trying to take a leadership role in that. So thank you for coming, Michelle. We also have Lee McDonough, who lives here in Harrisburg, and Lee works at the Chesapeake Bay program with the EPA, leading the scientific Bay program. So a lot of the monitoring data that we're using here comes out of these shops. So we're there it is. In addition, Allison Frost from the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. Now, we've had this competing report, the NGO, the big NGO of the region, the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. But with Allison and Hillary Fogg, the director of the Bay Foundation, we're partnering together. And I had promised Allison the speaking spot, but the governor kind of screwed it up. So my apologies, Allison, but thank you for being partners with us. So, another reason that I'm really glad we're here, not just because we started our journey into the watershed, but it's something that, you know, I think Pennsylvania and New York have been getting a bad rap. We've spent a lot of time in Maryland and Virginia putting our fingers. Then you guys, you have to do something, it's your fault. And it turns out it's not really true. Now we're looking at the data, and the data is telling us that those actions that you've secretaries have talked about are actually starting to pay off. We work with USGS, the United States Geologic Survey. We're doing the watershed monitoring, and the data is showing our nitrogen levels have measurably decreasing. We're improving the amount of nitrogen making it through the road. Phosphorus we still have to work. That has to do with the concentration of animals in the Lancaster area. But we are making those kinds of improvements. We also looked at, you know, a lot of blame following the dam. It's all following the dam. Well, the dam has served as a fantastic best management practice for the watershed, capturing sediments and nutrients that would otherwise take it into the bay. But it filled up, the reservoir filled up. So now with big flows, you get washing. Well, it turns out when we had the second biggest flow in history, we looked at the impact, and not much impact. It was ephemeral. We saw satellite photos of brown water that made it all the way to the Chesapeake Bay Bridge here in Annapolis, but not up into the tributaries, just in the main stem. And the long-term impact of that was quite minor. The other issue, the other sign that something is not quite jiving in terms of blaming Susquehanna River in Pennsylvania for all our problems is right at the mouth of the Susquehanna River is the Susquehanna Flats. That's the largest resurgence of aquatic grasses in the bay. You can see it from a satellite. When you're there in person, you see it. It's like you're in Florida. Clear water. The grasses are 2 meters high. There are crabs, there's fish. It's a teeming with life. And all around the edge, you see the water fishing because that's a very active area. That's right in the mouth of the river, and it's thriving. So it tells us maybe this blame game has to stop. We have to start looking at the data. So let's look at the data. I'm gonna
What are the boards?
I'm gonna start here. Our global sustainability scholars of National Science Foundation has funded to come work with us in the summer on this international project. We're working. Taylor Willett is coming up from North Carolina, Vinci State. Taylor, can you unveil the report card for this? Plus, last year and the last 20 years, there was a C. So that's the highest grade we've gotten since, and actually, we started this 17 years ago, but we back calculated scores all the way back to the mid-80s when the monitoring program started, the Chesapeake Bay program. So when we look at that grade, we're talking about we have over 30 years of that's the best grade since 2000. Other important thing is the little arrows. The arrows are the trajectories. So what we do is we analyze the grades over time, over that almost 40-year period. And what we're seeing is that overall, the bay is improving. And if you look at the top of the bay, once again, this blaming Susquehanna River isn't making sense, because look at the 3 grades at the top of the bay. Those are the ones that are significantly improving. The second best grade in the entire bay is the upper bay. Only only, one that's higher is the lower bay that gets fluxed by the Atlantic Ocean. So you can't be looking upstream and blaming people when the data doesn't support it. The other thing you see there is the Pasco and Back River. Pasco and Back River is Baltimore. And in Baltimore, it's been in the news, obviously. The tragedy of the Key Bridge collapse really brought the focus, the fragility of our bay infrastructure. And, you know, it could have been a real disaster in terms of people on it. The potential for oil spills or contaminants into the harbor could have, and then the circle of that, the tides could have been devastating. But in fact, I was fortunate, Secretary McElwain and her able assistant, Dr. Suzanne Dorsey, invited us to come into the Unified Finance, and I got to see in person that this is what I think is a really powerful statement. It's that Maryland strong, Baltimore tough. People really responded. They cleared that channel in record time, and the environmental impacts that we were monitoring throughout negligent could have been a disaster. Negligible. I mean, it was a financial disaster, of course, for not just Baltimore, but the state and the nation. But it shows that we really have to pay attention to our infrastructure in the future. But that improving grade is really a testament. And it already was alluded to. People are swimming in Baltimore Harbor. A couple weeks ago, 100 people jumped in, and they did it last summer as well. We had dolphins back for the first time a couple summers ago. And so that's really. So that's the bay, and that sea bluff is great to celebrate. But now let's look at the watershed. You feel like Van White? Okay. So now we have the entire the watershed that got a C overall. But what's really important is look at those regional scores. And if you look at the Susquehanna regionals, they're moderate or good. Now, we don't have trajectories on this. We don't have the track record. We don't have the 30 plus years of data. So it's just a snapshot. It's years. But look at the way we're doing this. We're looking at ecology, economy, and society. So we got 3 sets, and I'll just go and look at those in a little more detail in a second. But what we're seeing here on that land use map is those urban and agricultural areas, and that's where we have to focus for it. It's the we've cleaned up our water coming out of sewage treatment. So we have state-of-the-art sewage treatment throughout our watershed. We've cleaned up our catalytic converters, smokestack scrubbers. So we're doing great for stuff coming out of pipes. What we're not doing enough is the non-point food sources that are coming off of farm fields and urban stormwater. And those areas in the watershed that you can see are the focus that we have to work on. And those are the areas that are significantly great. All right, so let's look at another of our global sustainability scholars, Cam Overton from Tuskegee University, will show us the ecology of the watershed. And look at Pennsylvania. Look at the Susquehanna. Look at the green, the entire Appalachian ridge and valley and a plateau are in good ecological condition. And yet, where's the problem? We see the problems on our eastern shore of the Maryland, Virginia, Delmarva Peninsula. We highlighted that last summer in our report card. It's a real problem. There are not many people who live there, only 1.1 million people. But there are a lot of animals, and that's what we're doing. Next one, Cam, is our societal indicators. These societal indicators show that it's not just an environmental problem, it's also got implications in terms of the societal conditions. And the indicators we're using for those societal indicators. Walkability, as alluded to earlier, about 10 minutes ago, green space. The social vulnerability index, heat vulnerability index, and stewardship, and survey about stewardship. We can see again on the eastern shore, problems, and of course, Secretary Adams, we've been talking at length about how to. And then finally, our economic indicators. we're tired of pitting economics versus environment, we're tired of pitting Maryland versus. We gotta get over this. So when we look at our economic indicators, we can see that we've got, our economic indicators include median household income, and they include our jobs growth, income inequality, and our housing affordability. So this is not like rough. It's not about how much corporations, people, individuals are faring on economic. And once again, you can see some problems on the Eastern Shore, and then some in some of our urban areas and rural areas both. So see this pattern in that. And we combine all of the ecological into the overall watershed health score. Okay, so that's basically our report card in a nutshell, but we always evolve in a report. So Bailey Porter from Jacksonville University. If you turn over the next, I don't even know what it is. Okay, that's our Eastern Shore focus. So one of the things we did in this report card this year is zero in on what's going on in Eastern Shore. And you can see that 37% of the land area is agriculture. We're growing soy, corn, wheat, but mostly corn and soy. And we're using it to feed chickens, but we don't even grow enough, so we import corn and soy from the Midlands to feed chickens. And look at the number of chickens. So we have 1 million people, but we have 8 million chickens, that's broilers, layers. And then we have other livestock, pigs, horses. But here's the thing, that concentration of animal feed operations, we see it throughout the watershed in the Shenandoah Valley, the Lancaster area, Pennsylvania, and Shore. That's where our problem really focus. We have to address this way we're converted agriculture. Now, agriculture, us and Kevin, the weight of the world's on your shoulders, because ag is the key, but not just food, but water security, the key to nutrient management, and ultimately it's going to be the key to climate change. So we've really got to get our food systems sorted out so that we can grow these crops and have a good environment. Okay, one more, last one. Bailey, you show the that's the plastic. We're always evolving new indicators. We're always trying to maintain be responsive to the people that we do work with, and there are 3 reasons we started this man-made indicator. First, for the past 2 summers and this summer, it's our global sustainability scholar that worked with us in these sustainability listening sessions, gone all around the watershed and had these listening sessions. And what we very clearly is litter is a very important issue to people around the watershed. Second, I think litter as a visual aesthetic gives you a sense of care, and it's an expression of caring for the citizens. That's why in Baltimore we have trash wheels, and in Anacostia we have trash collectors. That's why we have boats and scoop it up. But ultimately, we're still seeing a lot of microplastics in the environment. The last couple of years, we've gone out and sampled at 2 cruises to sample Chesapeake Bay. We have a bona fide plastic. Christine did her PhD recently at the One Point Lab on microplastics and oyster larvae. She's serving now as the Sea Grant Policy Fellow and still working on development. She and Lily Baudry, who's here, have gone out on the cruise and measured and found plastics everywhere. Sediments, deep water, shallow water, mostly fibers. And there's a little fact sheet that we have accompanying the report card delving into the plastic issue here. So please have a look at that. One of the other reasons for getting into the plastic business, right, is that, the nutrients, sediments that farmers have a lot to do with. Our agencies and regulating sewage have a lot to do with it. But the average citizen can't change that. Average citizens can change plastics You can choose not to use single-use plastic. Cigarette butts, they have microplastics in the filter. You can choose not to throw them down the storm drain. There are things that we can do individually, all of us collectively, the 18 million people in this watershed, to reduce the plastic. Now, plastics end up, as you can see from the diagram, in our oysters, crabs, and the things we eat. We ingest it. We have plastic in our body. Plastic isn't, in and of itself, a terrible thing, but the toxins that travel with plastics, that's really the dangerous. So plastics are a carrier for bad things. So one of the things that I want to do is acknowledge the people that have gone into developing these assessments and report cards. So, you know, after 17 years, you might suspect this is pretty routine, you can just turn it right out of report cards, but it's not so easy. We have dedicated field crews go out and collect these samples throughout the watershed in the bay, from Virginia, Pennsylvania, from Maryland, all 6 states. And these dedicated people go out, even during COVID, going out, changes continuity of the data set. And then it comes back to the Chesapeake Bay program based in Annapolis, where we start to analyze that data. And then at OMSI, we had a team of the integration application network led by Dr. Keith Kelsey. And that team of science communicators and science integrators have been pulling these things together over the past few months. So I want to acknowledge Sydney Anderson, Rochner, Nani Chessie, Joe Edgerton, Nathan Miller, and Lily Baudre for their incredible efforts in pulling this together. As stated, the report card served as a global model. But Dr. Vanessa Vargas Wynn here leads this effort for the Chesapeake report card, and also leads an effort where we're comparing Chesapeake Bay, the Tokyo Bay, Manila Bay, the Gold Coast of India. And when we have a symposium this fall on Baltimore Harbor, 10 and 11, we call it our Chesapeake Global Collaboratory. Keyword there, Chesapeake and Collaboratory. We're going to bring our partners in. So we really look forward to that. So thank you for coming. I got this time to move on.
Couple minutes.
Well, I express my appreciation for all our guests, for sharing this vital information. Really good to hear from Pennsylvania, Maryland, and federal government. Spirit of collaboration. Good to hear their holistic approach to assessing the bay, holistic meaning not just the bay, but also the watershed, not just water quality. So, like I said, we are bumping up against the governor's visit, but so takes.
What is the thing that for the average Pennsylvanian, the person who isn't keeping track of the Chesapeake Bay going forward, what can they do to make sure that word exists here?
So, you know, one of the things that we have to, average citizen can deal with is the fertilizer they put on their lawn. Minimize that. Simple things like, you know, wash your car, don't drive on the grass, don't do it on the. If you have a septic system, pump it out there, maintain it. You know, I think pick up pet waste. That in urban areas that can be just you know, the plastic issue, single-use plastic, gotta get away. So there's, I think, more and more, and we actually have one of the things we have pretty cool. Chesapeake monitoring blocks, citizen scientists, and Pennsylvania's got a bunch of them out of Dickinson, the ARM NGO. So we've got Maryland and Virginia as well, and so you know, really active people can go out and sample, and those data contribute to these report cards.
Like Lancaster County and the high, concentration of animals there. What can be done when farming is so essential to, Pennsylvania's economy? What can be done to kind of pull back on like the phosphorus?
Well, yeah, so I think it's been referenced a couple of times, finding this equilibrium, between sort of the environment and business. I think what we demonstrated since 2015, there are best management practices. See in this report part, I think it's a reflection of this piece. It's about farmland preservation, it's management, nutrients is what Pennsylvania did some years ago. Every single nutrient management plan balanced the key index. Really important. First one in the Chesapeake Bay region to do that. And then being sort of sensitive to application monitoring. So I always add to this, there's a connection point for everyone who lives here to eat here. Make a connection. We can talk about the word quality, but ultimately buying locals, that you can have these fuels, diversity in these food systems. It helps develop local markets that don't then look like they're all concentrated animal operations. That's an important part of this as well. But final point would be anything you see here today is about funding and investments. So connected to the last question, management plans, that's doing the right nutrient match has to do all those things.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, in the 2022 Pennsylvania budget, you had that Clean Streams Fund with the ARPA money. What are we looking at with the ARPA money having to be spent by 2026? You know, running out of funding there. Are you concerned about that?
Well, it's sort of split, right? So I'm excited about what we have. Just a shout out to Senator Gall and Senator Martin, Chesapeake Bishop, others who really instrumental to bringing us to the ACAP program. But it demonstrated two things. One, we talked about a dedicated funding source for many members. Finally, with the ACAP funds, the Streams Fund, did it, right? It gave us sort of the ability to build capacity for the work in agriculture. But it's also done is it's demonstrated the need for workforce. You need trained folks, the academic side of PSPs, so it did that. Two, I think there's a very clear signal for all of those in the government that the local led efforts in the county leveraging money, state putting in dedicated funding, bringing in and further using the money, farm bills, have given us tremendous momentum. We've got a waiting list for folks who want to participate. Lancaster County, reference here about conservation, they are out of ACAP funding. There's a waiting list for farms. For a year in, got another year to get this job done. So we have to find alternative funding to keep ACAP funded and sourced in the right way. Keep.
Thank you all. This concludes this part of it. We're going to be going outside in just a few minutes. The governor will be here in 5 minutes. Don't stay in here and be cool for a while.
Yeah. Yes, I told the scholars, but if you want to stand right by that lady out there. Okay.
Chesapeake Bay. My name is Andrew Dehoff, Executive Director of the Susquehanna River Basin Commission. Why are we gathered here instead of on the shores of the bay? Simple. Rivers like the Susquehanna feed into the dam except the bay itself. As for the tributaries, so the bay, and these tributaries don't recognize state lines. So just as this commission is a partnership between New York, Pennsylvania, Maryland, and the federal government, so too is the Chesapeake Partnership, the joining of the Bay States and the federal government working together to achieve bay restoration efforts through 2025 and beyond. We brought together this morning 2 members of that critical partnership for both the states and the federal government, along with the institution charged with assessing their progress. I've asked them to share with you their perspective on the progress they're seeing and the commitment to continue.
Welcome, everybody. Great to be here on this not so warm summer day. Very excited about the release of the report card, about the efforts that the states are doing. I want to highlight the highlight of the day, the rural Pennsylvania, and pulling their weight and doing so very successfully. So we're really excited about that.
You can say that again.
And we'll continue. I think the importance of emphasizing the partnership, not only across states, across institutions, across people, and the importance of the fact that this collaboration is actually leading to improvements in the overall bay is really encouraging and we'll be doing these efforts for years to come. And so it is my pleasure next to introduce Secretary Josh Kurtz of Maryland Department of Natural Resources.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here today and discuss the progress that we've all made by working together. I think when you look at this score and this report card and you see all of us here standing together, it was accomplished as a team. It's so important to have the federal government, the state partners, our local governments all kind of pulling in the right direction, rowing together, if you will, I guess, apropos of being on the Susquehanna River, and also being a little bit competitive. We were just discussing with Governor Shapiro the importance of that a little bit. Right. And Governor Moore, I know, is very proud to be a part of this partnership and to work so closely with our colleagues here in Pennsylvania. We've seen tremendous progress. We still have strides to make, but what we can do is learn from each other, continue this great work, continue to build on, I think, the strength of that partnership as we move forward. And we're just going to continue to see more success, cleaner water, more abundant wildlife, and more opportunities for our citizens to engage with the watershed. So pleased to be here today. Very proud of the work we've all been able to accomplish. And thank you, Governor Shapiro, for having us, for your leadership, the investment that you've made and your administration has made. Incredible momentum for us to build on. It's now my honor to introduce my colleague and friend, Adam Ortiz from the Environmental Protection Agency.
Thank you.
Thank you, Governor, Secretary Kurtz. It's a tremendous pleasure to be here on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency, and it's no accident that we're here in the heart of the upstream watershed. EPA's focus has been engaging in all the states and bringing the partnership back together to restore the Chesapeake Bay. And up here, we have local streams that are national treasures as well. And what we've seen in our engagement is we're trying to catch up in many ways to the momentum that the Commonwealth has already exhibited in bringing the agricultural community and towns and cities together to accelerate restoration. Today's grade is the best in almost a generation, and that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because people are stepping up at the local level, across industries, across state lines, and in partnership with the federal government. So there's a lot of work to do, but there's a lot to be proud of today. And it's an honor to be standing beside Governor Josh Shapiro. We work so closely with all the members of his cabinet. You can see he's adopted some of Maryland's cabinet here as well today because there's so much to do together. But Governor, I want to thank you for your leadership and your team, and it's an honor to be here with you today.
Thanks, Ed. Thank you very much. Thanks, everybody. It's great to have everyone here today, and I want to say welcome to Harrisburg, particularly for our partners at the federal level and from Maryland. And I appreciate the partnership that we have been able to build, and I'm grateful that everyone is here because we have all collectively made a commitment to protect the Chesapeake Bay watershed and to recommit ourselves to the work yet ahead. I want you to know that I am particularly grateful to Governor Westmore of Maryland, my friend and partner in this work, and grateful that his team is with us
here today. I think this is yet another example of what is possible when we come together, when we work together, not just across different levels of government, federal and state, but across state lines, and making sure that we are all rowing in the same direction. I want to say a special thanks to the three key members of my team who are here today, who have been doing this work for many years. Secretary Russell Redding of the Department of Agriculture, Secretary Fundun of the Department of Conservation and Natural Resources, and of course, Acting Secretary Shirley of the Department of Environmental Protection. We understand that cleaning up a watershed, one that spans 6 states and the District of Columbia, contains more than 100,000 rivers and streams. Well, we understand that is a monumental task, but we're not deterred from doing that important work. I want to say how grateful I am to Dr. Morales Wilhelm and the team at the University of Maryland for all of the hard work that you do to track the progress we're making. This is obviously a big task, and the continuous monitoring shows that we're getting it right, and we're making. I think it's impressive. This year, Chesapeake Bay got its highest grade in 22 years. Professor, I understand that's not on a curve. That's legit, right? And the portion of the bay that the Susquehanna River flows into, the same river that you see right next to me here today, well, it got the second best grade in the entire watershed and showed some of the strongest improvements that we have seen in years. You've heard me say this before, I'm competitive as hell. And so while the second best grade is a hell of a lot better than we've been in recent years, I want us to have the best grade next time those grades are given out. You hear me on that, Professor, right? All right. The upper bay is significantly improving, and that's because we have focused here in Pennsylvania. And I'm proud of that work. And I want to talk a little bit about how we've accomplished that. First, predecessor, Governor, he and his administration, led by the secretaries who I mentioned before and my Deputy Chief of Staff, Sam Robinson, they made it a priority to clean up our waterways, including is the private sector working together with the public sector for the common good. What they did there was they used log and rock structures to stabilize stream banks. They installed fences to keep livestock away from the edges of streams, and they reseeded the banks with native plants. Those plant roots now provide the long-term stability for the stream banks, while also soaking things from manure and fertilizer runoff so it doesn't end up washing into the stream. Because of this work, well, Turtle Creek was officially removed from the Clean Water Act impaired waters list for Union County, Pennsylvania. It was a big win for Pennsylvania and Maryland and everyone who relies on Bay. It's in Turtle Creek. We're doing the work we are funding at the state level, and that is having its intended effect. We're seeing real results and improvement in the Chesapeake Bay. This, of course, is part of our GSD agenda in Pennsylvania, where we focus on getting stuff done. We're not talking about fixing the Bay anymore. We are fixing the Bay, and we are making sure Pennsylvania does its fair share. My administration is proud of this progress. We're going to continue to do this work for years to come. You have my commitment that this work will continue. Pennsylvania is all in. We have great partners at the federal level and the state level, particularly our partners in Maryland. And I look forward to working with all of you to continue this progress. And one of these days, y'all got to join me at the governor's residence. We'll grab a few canoes from Fundun and we'll head out into the river. We'll enjoy ourselves along the waterway. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for the progress that we've made. With that, we'll be happy to take a few questions. Thank
You guys first.
I don't want to take, taking off that request.
I will. Can we do this first and then I'll come back to you? Yeah. Yes.
Governor, topic, have you noticed a change in the relationship?
Absolutely. Look, I was Attorney General when I got a call from Governor Hogan's office saying that they were about to sue Governor Wolf and his administration. I tried to work on that as AG to temper that. And of course, one of the first things Governor Moore and I talked about when we were both sworn into new terms was how we could partner together in a constructive manner to fix the Bay. And I made a pledge to him, and he made a pledge to me that we would work together to do that. I'm mindful that for years, Pennsylvania was seen as not doing its fair share. That changed under Governor Wolf, and that's continuing on my watch. And we are working very productively, very collaboratively with the other states who are here and involved in the Bay work.
I suspect if one of your children came home with a C plus.
I just can't hear you, Dennis.
I suspect that if one of your kids came home with a C plus, you wouldn't be patting them on the back. But we're kind of doing that here today with a C plus.
Well, we're moving up. We're up in the B range, and we're seeing great improvement. And let me tell you, what I do with my kids is I focus less on the grade and more on their commitment, dedication to learning, and whether or not they're improving in their studies. And I think what we've seen here is not only a good grade for Pennsylvania, but real improvement. And you're seeing a real commitment to being better. And that's exactly what we're doing.
On the same vein of relationships, there's relationships with other states. Can you talk a little bit about the relationship that you have with the agriculture sector, with farmers, that 1% who's contributing a lot to the stream?
I think for a long time, farmers were scapegoated for the problems that we were seeing in the Bay. They were attacked and they were told they had to change the way they did things, but they were never worked with in a constructive manner. They were never brought in to be partners in this progress. I view the Bay, and under the leadership of Secretary Russell Redding here in Pennsylvania, and I'm certain this is the case in other states as well, we view our partners in this as our needs that they have, and then working with them to develop a plan and to help fund those plans where appropriate, either at the state level or at the federal level. I view ag as central to the economic competitiveness of this Commonwealth. I view ag as central to our efforts to meet Article 1, Section 27, our responsibility to deliver clean air and pure water. And the farmers I talk to, they believe in conservation. They believe in protecting our air and water. They believe in protecting our planet. They understand that they have a responsibility to work with us to do just that.
Yeah, and with that funding, has there been any talk, there's that clean stream fund from 2022.
Yeah.
Using ARPA funds, has there been any talk about anything more match into that and more match into every farm?
So look, we're working on those issues, and this is going to apply to any questions I get on the budget. I'm not going to get into any specifics right now. We're making good progress in that space, and this is one of the important areas.
Got time for a couple more if anybody has.
Thank you, appreciate it. Well, I won't ask you for specifics, but I do want to ask you about.
I just.
Not specifics.
Okay.
On cyber charters, could you be open to so maybe getting the reimbursement that public schools get for cyber charter costs? Is that something you're open to?
I was very clear in my budget address, now over 4 months ago, that I wanted to see change in that space. I've articulated that in our negotiating sessions, and I can just tell you that in general, we are making progress in a multitude of areas around education. It is important to note, you've heard me say it before, please allow me to say it again. I am the only governor in the entire nation with a divided legislature. So we have to work across party lines and across both chambers to make progress in these areas. And education has been an area in our negotiations where we've made meaningful progress. We're all working really hard. And I have to commend the leaders, but I also have to commend the staff in both the Republican and Democratic caucuses. We all worked very hard this weekend, last weekend, during the holidays. Everybody's really focused on getting this done and getting it done in the best way for Pennsylvanians. And so I've been encouraging those conversations. And rather than adhering to any artificial deadlines, I think what we're all trying to do is just make meaningful progress, understand one another, make progress in the areas that we think it's necessary. And I can tell you, I've been really proud of all the teams from both parties and both chambers for the incredible dedication that they do out in the parking lot when I was leaving the Capitol late in the evening. We're kind of deep in the red zone, and I think that's where we are. I'm not going to get into any specifics on the budget. I can just tell you we're having good, honest dialogue in both chambers, and we all recognize that we've all got to compromise. And I realize that compromise in today's politics is maybe a word that some people don't like to use. I think compromise is how you make progress for the good people of Pennsylvania, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Governor, the DNC is next month. Have you had any good dialogue with people who are putting that program together? Or are you going to have a speaking role? Would you like a speaking role? Have you negotiated on that?
That'll be up to the leaders of the DNC and President Biden to determine what role they want me to have. And I look forward to doing my best in whatever capacity to highlight the stark differences between the views and the values and the ideas and the policies put forth by each candidate and each party in this election.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.